All right, welcome back, beautiful people. Today, we're talking about something that might feel a bit contradictory: how to maintain your success or like a life you really love while releasing the constant push. And if you're thinking, but Emily, pushing and doing so much is how I got here, and if I didn't, everything would fall apart. I get it. I mean, from running my own business to working with a company, being a single mom, there was a moment when I realized that that level of going actually became addictive. Meaning, I really like that energy and the hormones created in the body, which I'll talk more about, became so my norm that if I slowed down, thoughts would run through in my head like, oh my gosh, I'm going to fall behind. I'm replaceable. What if I can't keep up? I mean, just crazy talk. So here's what I've discovered and what you probably know in your body and what science is showing us too is achievement and loving your life and having a really like fulfilled life doesn't have to equal exhaustion. So in today's episode, I'm going to share why high achievers often resist slowing down, what your breath pattern reveals about your achievement addiction and how to detox from it, and how to shift from forcing things and to flow without losing your creative edge, and some simple practices to help you create a fulfilling life you love with more ease. And the best part about this is this isn't about lowering your standards. It's about creating and achieving from a totally different energy. Here we go. So let's dive right in and start with understanding what our body is telling us about our achievement patterns, like the way we create. So there are physical signs of when we are pushing too hard, when we're like stuck in on mode. And so I'm going to ask you, have you ever noticed any of these things in your body? Or now that I ask you the questions, check in as you go through your day and notice, does your breathing become more shallow or up in your chest when you're really busy during busy periods? Do you hold your breath or pause your breath when you're making choices or answering emails or checking messages? Is your jaw tight at the end of the day, or do you grind your teeth? Is your mind racing even when you're relaxing? Like you're constantly thinking of things. And here's one that, oh my gosh, did I have this one so much? You're exhausted, but you can't sleep deeply. That might mean you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. But all of those, they're not just stress signals. They're your body's way of telling you that you're stuck in on mode. And when we look at this through the nervous system is where it gets really fascinating. So when we're constantly going, our nervous system literally gets stuck in sympathetic activation. It's like our on switch, our fight or flight response, and it starts to create a cycle. So you'll notice in the animal world, they will have something that stresses them out. Like even if you're walking your dog and they see another dog or a squirrel, something exciting, something that activates their nervous system, you may notice like a dog will do a shake off. Like, and if you haven't noticed that, or if you don't have a dog, you can see it in the wild too. After animals fight, when it's over, they'll shake to release the activation in the body, and they immediately go back. Their body knows how to switch that off. In humans, we're different, and we get stuck in on mode because our mind starts keeping thoughts going and we get stuck in a loop. What that does is it creates a lot of different stress hormones in the body. Now, the hormones can feel energizing. They do feel energizing because they're meant to activate you, put you in motion, to run away, to fight, right? And what happens in our brain is we start associating that feeling and a chemical like reaction that's going in our body with productivity. And our body forgets how to fully relax. And not only that, we become literally like addicted to that push. It's a chemistry in the body that starts to feel normal. So even if it's not comfortable, when we've been doing it for so long, we tend to go with what we've been doing is comfortable to the body. It's like, well, we haven't died from this, so this feels good. It feels natural. But what happens is it's not sustainable. And some of the biggest cost to that is our intuition gets muffled. We can't hear it. When we are in fight or flight mode and we're activated, basically the body has said the most important thing here is to survive. So we lose access to our intuition, our creativity, our sensualness. All those things are just like, yeah, those are extras. We don't need them right now. So we lose access to that. Our creativity decreases and we actually become less effective, even though we may be doing more and working harder and putting in more effort. So if you know what I'm talking about, I'm going to go through 3 common kind of different achievement patterns. And let me tell you, I have checked the box, on all 3 of these. So the first one is the constant doer. So this pattern might feel familiar. It can look like you're always adding more to your plate, difficulty sitting still, shallow, rapid breathing, or like just forgetting to breathe. You might go through the day and go, oh, I didn't even realize I breathed during the day. Here's a big one, is also like feeling guilty or restless during downtime. Like maybe you take in half an hour or an hour, and then there starts to be this feeling creep up like, uh-oh, I really should be working on something, or I should be doing this, and we can't turn off. Or using our busyness as a badge of honor. And I mean, boy, did I do that one. It was like, hey, look at all these things I can handle. Now, I am naturally like ADHD, and I create well having like a few balls going on at the same time. So this isn't about like, we all have our own way of creating, but it's the energy behind it. Like when we cannot relax and slow down and give ourselves a break, or when we feel like we get validation from our busyness and that it's proving something about our worth, we might be in this constant doer mode. So like I mentioned, the breath pattern you may notice is an irregular rhythm, holding breaths between doing tasks or doing tasks that are stressful, or quick, shallow breathing focused up in the chest. So I want to introduce with each of these patterns a simple release technique, like a way to release that achievement like fix that's going on. So with this one, really simply, it's going to be an extended exhale practice. What does that mean? Making your exhale longer than the inhale. So starting with something as simple, and if you're somewhere where you can take a breath now, that's wonderful. And let's start with a short inhale, like inhaling for a count of 2 and exhaling for a count of 4. And if that breath feels difficult and lengthening it 2 times is too much, then just lengthen the exhale a little bit more. If the idea of counting stresses you out, then don't worry so much about the count. Just take an inhale and then slow the exhale down. Hey guys, it's Emily, and I'm just popping in here for a moment to ask you a question. Have you ever had that feeling where you're craving more connection with yourself, going in, but meditation feels impossible and other practices either feel too intense or like they're just not working? I get it. That's why I created Coming Home to You, which is a monthly breathwork membership where transformation unfolds naturally at your perfect pace. Each month includes a 30-minute rejuvenation session and a 60-minute deep dive breath journey, plus community support and recorded sessions that you can access anytime, anywhere. And as a trauma-informed breathwork facilitator, I'm here to guide you to create that sense and feeling of coming home to yourself, where your intuition and knowing flow and choices become clear. If you're ready to experience the magic, visit emilyevansrussell.com/breathe to join us. Because sometimes the simplest path home to you is through your breath. Okay, Okay, so that's a great release technique. Now, I'm going to go through the other two patterns. If you're kind of like, I don't even notice where my breath is at, then let's start with actually just kind of assessing and checking in with our body and our breath. When you have space, or if you're somewhere now where you can find a comfortable position, place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. And then just observe your natural breath for a few moments. Let's take 10 seconds. If you have a minute to do this later, this is great. And without changing or altering your breath, just notice, where is the breath centered? Chest, belly, somewhere else? Are there any holding patterns or stuck places where you notice like you're not really breathing into? And what's your rhythm? And then notice, as we've just been doing this for 10, 20 seconds, what thoughts are arising. And what this does is it just becomes a baseline awareness of, oh, what is my natural breath like? Because our breath is the one thing that is run automatically. Well, sorry, there's lots of things that are run automatically, but it's the one thing that goes on without us having to consciously think about it, and we can consciously change it, which is what's so cool about breath work. Okay, so that's a practice for just kind of noticing your natural rhythm. If you're like, I don't know if I have shallow breathing, I don't know if I hold my breath. Okay, so the first pattern when we went over was the constant doer. The second one, I'm going to call the perfection pusher. This one can be more subtle, but equally as draining. Like I said, I have done and know these all very well. This could look like holding your breath, again, when you're focusing, maybe having tension in your shoulders and or your jaw. Difficulty delegating tasks. Like when we are perfectionists, it's kind of like we have running in the background. Well, I just might as well do it because I'll get it done faster or better, or just difficulty letting go of some of the tasks on your plate. Even though you'd like to, when it comes down to it, we don't like to delegate it. It could also be overthinking decisions because we're looking for a way to get it right. So we end up in our heads thinking about it rather than just taking an action, or constantly refining and going over things. Like, so, I have a business, so I'll give a business example. Like if you want to release a new offer or product, and instead of just putting it out in the world, or a podcast or a video, you end up overthinking it or constantly fixing it before you just put it out in the world. So one of the breath patterns, you'll notice these are similar. It could be holding your breath during concentration and tight, controlled breathing. With perfection, we like to make sure everything's going right. So there's a level of control that can show up in our breath as well. And maybe just not a natural flow that we notice with the breath. There's limited like wave-like quality to the breath. So with this one of the simple release techniques I'm going to suggest and play with these, right, is finding somewhere where you can lay down. I mean, that would be ideal and feel really supported, or just like a cozy chair or a couch. And then taking a deep inhale through the nose. And then here's the transformative part. Instead of controlling the exhale or even trying to slow it down like we did before in that extended exhale practice, instead of controlling your exhale, simply open your mouth and let the breath just release completely on its own. Then, before you take your next breath, allow your body to naturally decide when to take the next breath because it knows. And there's often a pause there and we don't have to control it. And then just check in with yourself. Like notice, okay, do I kind of want to jump in here and control the process? So we'll call this release technique like the surrender breath. So even if you're not somewhere right now where you can lay down or sit down, take a moment and just take that inhale through the nose. And then just let your mouth open and just simply release the breath. And then notice and allow your next breath to come in naturally. And I have a little bit of a head cold, so sorry if my breath sounds a little stuffy today. So that's a really cool release technique that you can play with. I mean, any of these are great for any time. I'm just sort of associating one with each pattern. And then for the final one, let's talk about the never enough, the never enough navigator. So this can happen for so many of us, especially if we're creative and we love what we do, no matter what that is. It's when we're always looking to the next target. And sometimes in that, we will skip over celebrating the things that are going well, like celebrating our wins and achievements. I was just talking to a friend the other day, and I started off the conversation with some things that, I was worried about. And then I said, oh yeah, but then this happened and this happened, like celebrations of things that are going well. And she laughed and she was like, you were just totally going to skip over those? Are you serious? So if you have a friend that you can celebrate your achievements with, highly recommend it, because our brains they are wired to look for what's wrong. And so to retrain that neural pathway, we actually have to take a moment and go, oh, wait a second. What am I grateful for? What's been going well? What wins happened this week? And it could be something really simple. Like I took my dog for a walk, even though it was raining outside, or I have chickens in the backyard and one laid an egg. It does not have to do with your job or your work, anything. So when we get stuck in never enough, we will tend to skip over that. Again, this can look like shallow breathing, even when we're resting. And it could also tend to show up in comparing ourselves to others or just feeling restless, like maybe they're doing more, creating more, and I should be doing this, etc. And it creates this restless, like there's just never enough going. And so if you've ever noticed any of those things, those patterns, then also we can check in, like when you do a breath assessment, okay, it can show up too with difficulty with deep breathings or just irregular breathing. So the practice here, a great way to release this, is something that can anchor you in the present moment. And when we're in the present moment, one of the easiest ways to get there is by landing in and really being in our body. And a fast way to do that is to tap into our senses. So a really simple exercise you can do is taking a moment and noticing 3 things that you see in your environment. And just allow your eyes to scan, oh, I see a plant and a chair and a cup. Then allow your eyes and your gaze to soften and notice 3 things you feel in your body. 3 different sensations anywhere in the body. And then shift your awareness to your sense of hearing. First, maybe noticing the first prominent, most dominant sound you hear, and then seeing if you can pick up any other subtle sounds in the environment. So that's really simple, but bringing our awareness to our senses doesn't take long, and it's a really great practice to just get us in the present moment. Okay, so with any of these different short release techniques, like the surrender breath, an extended exhale, present moment anchoring, a great way to integrate anything into your life is making it a part of your day. So your brain just automatically goes, oh, this is when we do that. So it could be something you add to your morning wake up routine if you have one. I love to do 2 to 3 minutes of breath work first thing in the morning. I often do it still laying down in my bed. And that way, now when I wake up, it's the first thing my mind goes to. It's like, oh yeah, I wake up and I do a little bit of an extended exhale or a different breathing pattern for a minute or 2. It can be very, very simple. It also could be a midday reset. So if you have a time in your day where you break for lunch or you go for a walk, or a time of day where you tend to get distracted or tired or just restless, this can be a great pattern interrupt, is adding in one of these breath techniques, or in the evening. So these are all great release practices to do at night. And so again, work it into your like, oh, after I brush my teeth, or when I first get into bed for the evening, or when I sit on the couch, whatever that is. But when we work something into it, basically created as a ritual, we end up getting rid of a lot of the resistance or forgetting to do things. Like I will sometimes put Post-it notes. I'm a big fan of Post-it notes to remind myself of things. But you'll notice even with a Post-it note, you will tend to, once it's been in your environment long enough, your brain is like, yeah, I've seen that. It must not be important if we haven't been reading it, and you'll sort of forget it. But if something is in your daily ritual, your brain goes, oh, like automatically, this is what we do. Or set a reminder on your phone. That's another way. Like just, hey, time to take a few breaths. So another way that you can use these are in situations, like key moments in your day, especially like say you're in a work environment when you have a lot of meetings, maybe fitting in a minute between your team meetings instead of going from Zoom to Zoom. Or if you start to feel like you're falling behind and you get that sense of, oh, I need to do more, you want to have a pattern interrupt right there. That's where you want to pause anything to break that cycle of achievement that we're just used to, right? It's been comfortable. So it's about breaking that pattern up. Also, it could be any other transition during your day or when you get done, like kind of as a reward. So, okay, I just did 3 hours on the computer, or I just wrote that email, or I just cooked dinner, and having it as a little practice after you complete something. So all of this is a lot about basically recreating what we define our success and our value and our worth by. If it wasn't about how much we're doing and how much we can fit on our plate and how many projects we can do all at once, what if we created new markers for that, like different things to check in with? So how's my breathing been today? Some more steady, relaxed breathing. Your energy flow. Your energy is your most valuable resource. So noticing that, how's it been flowing through the day? If maybe you add little bits of breath work in, noticing your present moment awareness throughout your day. Were we on autopilot a lot? Which of course we all do that. But even like, again, celebrating the win of, wow, I actually found myself making dinner and really enjoying chopping the onion or the carrot or whatever that is. How also, when we're making choices, how connected are we to our intuition? Are we going to confusion and all up in our head, or is there more of a drop it into our body and what we know? It's all about like, instead of looking for like a lot of doing, it's how much ease is there in the actions I'm taking? Because we still have a lot on our plates, right? So it's not changing that. It's changing the energy with which we do it, the presence with which we go about our lives, which creates a very different level of fulfillment rather than exhaustion. Okay, so before we wrap up today, I know I've shown you a couple other release techniques, but let's go through like a 60-second practice to embody what it's like to shift from go mode, I'm on, to more presence. And a great way to do that is bring awareness or even touch to your heart space, to the center of your chest. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take in a moment. So again, if you're somewhere where you can pause and breathe, if you're multitasking, I'm often multitasking when I'm listening to podcasts, so I get that. But so it could be bringing your awareness to your chest, to your heart center, or if you can, bringing a hand to that heart space. And then when we breathe, it's almost like you're imagining and putting your awareness on your heart. So it's like breathing through your heart. Where we place our energy and attention is where things flow. Where our attention goes, energy flows, which is awesome. So just by bringing our awareness to that heart space, it creates a shift where we're present. And then to add a feeling of, I want to say like self-compassion and love. So when do you have that sense of, oh my gosh, I just love this. And it could be a person, it could be a pet, it could be a place in nature. Get that sense of connection and apply it to yourself. That sense of, okay, I can feel what that feels like for my child, or I can feel what that's like when I'm in awe of an amazing sunset. Take that sensation and feeling in the body. And as you breathe with your awareness on the heart space and breathing in through the heart, add in that feeling of whatever you want to call that, like self-compassion or love and real presence and appreciation. And as we do this, just notice what you notice. Does anything shift? Okay, so even let's just take maybe 10 rounds of breath. Maybe you have a hand on your chest. Maybe you're going about and multitasking right now and you just bring your awareness to your heart center. And you don't even have to adjust your pattern. Just as you breathe naturally, or if you'd like to, take a deep breath in. But imagine bringing and breathing through the heart, bringing awareness and energy there. And as you inhale and exhale and circulating that breath, again, awareness on the heart space. Seeing if you can then add in that feeling of appreciation, of love, of compassion into the breath. And just taking a few more rounds of breath just like that, just with switching where your awareness is. And after you've done a few rounds, letting that go and noticing, like, how do you feel? Are you any more present? Is there any less push or drive, that kind of constant going in your world? So it may be subtle, but my target is just to bring awareness to how powerful that shift can be and how easily it can be accessed and how quickly it can be accessed. Because this is what becomes possible when we release and kind of detox and let our body just switch to off mode. It's just giving it help to go, oh, okay, I get we've been in this doing mode, and yes, I have things to do, but let's switch that energy off, turn that dial down, and turn up the presence and see how our day goes that way. So if the topics and ideas in today's episode resonated with you, I also have something really special to share. So I've just actually launched a new offering called Growth Alchemy, where I'm working one-to-one and helping coaches, healers, conscious entrepreneurs combine business strategy, so the things we do, with energetic wisdom. So if you are someone that has something incredible to offer the world, something you know creates transformation, but maybe you're not creating the profit to make it sustainable, or you're having a hard time bringing in new clients, or feeling drained from a lot to do and pushing, or just experiencing that frustration of when we have a gift we'd like to offer the world and it's not seeming to translate into a business that is profitable and working. This Growth Alchemy brings all that together. And what I've learned in a decade of scaling businesses, my own and others, and my years in energy work and breath work and nervous system regulation in the body. And it's this perfect blend of strategy and embodied knowing. So if you're curious about working together, I've created different containers, like 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months, where I get to be a growth partner in your business. It includes energetic sessions, strategy sessions, access to my breathwork membership. If you are interested about learning more or to book a free discovery call with me, just head to emilyevansrussell.com/growth alchemy. You can also find the link in the show notes below, or DM me if you have questions on Instagram at EmilyEvansRussell. And I would love to explore how we might combine your strategic brilliance with energetic wisdom and the knowing in your body to create a fulfilling, successful life, including your work, including your business, that doesn't cost you your well-being. So until next time, remember, pushing and powering through things is not your most powerful resource. And our strategy isn't just in our mind, it's in our energy and our bodies. And there's a space waiting for you where those meet, where we get all of the magic of bringing on our body and our wisdom and strategy together. See you in the next episode. I hope you got something out of that episode. If you like this podcast, please share it with someone you know who would find it useful or interesting, and subscribe so that you can listen to past and upcoming shows.